you want to stand out as a rapper, you gotta make sure that your album covers are eye-catching. You can make one like this one using your iPhone pictures. Let me show you how I made this one. Alright, so he sent me this picture to start off with, not the best quality, the lighting all fucked up, but we still gonna make it work. So I cut out the background and made them black and white, and then I typed out his project name, which is How I'm Living. And then I needed a ground for him to stand on, so I actually took the floor from the original picture. I cut it out, I made the edges softer, and then kept duplicating it until I got this texture. I opened up Camera Raw filter, I turned the clarity and the texture up, then I made an S curve to make the blacks deeper and the highlights higher. I duplicated that a couple times to fill out the bottom, and then made a shadow around him to kind of give it some depth. I brought the title back, put it on the bottom, changed the perspective a little bit, and then warped the top of it to put it like around his feet. I turned it white and then added some bevel and emboss to kind of like it screwed it from the ground. However the hell you say that word, it screwed. I drew some red on the text and then made a slight shadow at the bottom too, and then added some red splatters all around the floor. I drew a red hard highlight around the top of his body and then got a bigger brush and then drew a soft highlight as well. I drew a little bit of shadows around his feet just to blend them to the ground, and then added a big red highlight to the ground. I threw some noise on the text and some shadows on the bottom of his body, and then I felt like the ground was kind of too flat, so I got some rocks and rubbers to kind of like set it off a little bit. And then y'all know I like the moon, so I added one and then made it big as hell and kind of made it like a blood moon with the highlights and everything. And then I added more rocks and then kind of like rinse and repeated the same process, and then I added shadows to all of them. Then I threw in hella clouds behind them to give the image some depth. I made the clouds darker and then drew some shadows around the border, then threw a night sky behind it. I made that black and white too, drew some more shadows around the borders, and then also drew some red around the border to give it a little bit of color. And then I merged everything. I opened up Camera Raw filter, boosted the clarity and the texture, and then I made an S curve and also turned up the sharpening. I played with the color wheels until I got what I liked, and then opened up filter gallery and added some grain and added some glow. I finished it off by adding some more red to the image and then threw in my parental advisory, typed on his name, and that was it. If you want me to make your album cover, DM me or go to kscxxp.net. Right now they are $69.99.